Hi and welcome to this episode of Resilient Voices. Today I'm sitting down with Theresa Riehm, and talking about her transformational path into resilience from an early childhood trauma into a sales career where she realized that was not her calling, not her idea of success. Now she leads a different life. So listen to her story where she openly shares about her life's transformation. So welcome, Reese.
Hi, Jessica. Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you here. We're going to talk about resilience. What a guess. So Reese, you're with me here in the studio in Theresa, but I know that you haven't. This is not your home base. Maybe it's your home now, but it's not where you came from originally. So give me some of your story, where you're from, and what has been sort of the biggest challenge that in your life so far, anyway, and how that changed your life, or how you evolved and grew your resilience, maybe.
Yes, and I love that you're jumping right in, Jessica. She's no BS. She's right into things.
Yes.
Where should I start? I've been thinking about it this morning when I was driving here along the ocean. Now living in beautiful Theresa, Portugal. That's how we also met. Through amazing Angela, who did an episode before. So thank you, Angela. Shout out to you. It hasn't always been that way. I've been living in Theresa now for 2 years, having the second year anniversary in June. But originally I am from Germany, south of Germany. My full name is Theresa, and I grew up in the south of Germany in a, rather, bit bigger city, Stuttgart. I grew up there in a, as a, only child. I was quite, spoiled with love while I was growing up. I had amazing parents. Mom, university professor for German language, dad, filmmaker. My first years were filled with a lot of beautiful memories of us traveling, creating movies.
Yeah, nice.
We were traveling to Austria, we were traveling through Germany while my dad was doing some documentaries, and I was always, kind of like watching him behind the camera. And seeing, him interviewing people, which is funny because now we're also, interviewing again.
Yeah.
And just learning about other people, their lifestyle. And I loved what he did, and how he was always trying to see the other perspective of other people, and trying to get a glimpse of their life, understand their thoughts. And I had a beautiful, beautiful childhood. We lived in a nice house, a garden, had a cat, that we got on one of the trips. Her name was Lily.
Really?
Yeah,
Really?
she's like
That's
a really
neat.
wild cat that found me. On a farm. So really beautiful childhood. But at some point, some things changed, and I think that's maybe also good to know about me. When I was 8. So I grew up in the 90s, so that was around 2000s. I had a difficult moment with the family because, at 8 years old, we got a really difficult diagnosis. We found out that my dad, kind of the head of the family, had terminal brain cancer. And I was 8, so I didn't really know what was happening. I didn't really understand the full idea of having this kind of diagnosis. But I remember being, kind of like shocked about it, thinking what is going to happen now. Like, we are this, small family. We love each other. Yeah. And then everything happened pretty quickly because, from the moment that we learned about his illness until he got his surgery and, also trying to make sure that he's still able to kind of stay alive. It was, I think maybe half a year.
Wow, that is quick.
So it was happening pretty quickly. And, my mom did an amazing job. She was trying to like really, keep everything running, make sure that, we spent some beautiful time together.
Do you have any sisters or brothers? Or?
I don't.
Okay.
So it was basically just the three of us.
Okay.
And yeah, like I said, I had a lot of love also during that time. My mom also made sure that I was able to see my grandma oftentimes. I was traveling to Spain or to Greece during that time, kind of like keep me a bit protected, but also knowing that, girl, you got to face this, even if you're just 8 years old, because you just have a limited amount of time left, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think during that time, I grew up a lot.
Yeah.
Because, I was suddenly faced with the realization that life is endless. Not endless.
Not endless. Yeah.
Not endless, yeah. Exactly. Sorry about that. Yes, not endless. And it was really, really difficult to grasp that. And, after he passed away, which was kind of peaceful because we said our goodbyes, that was really helpful for me also, for all of us. I was starting to sometimes become that warrior, that kind of like person that wanted to make most out of life. Because I had seen that life can end quickly, that life is stopping for everyone at some point. And I think that's also when I realized that I want to make the most out of life.
That is what a gift in a way to get that at such a young age, because normally a lot of people get that, like for myself, it was when my mother passed away, and it was just like 2 years ago when I really, really got that message clear to me. So, I mean, what a beautiful gift in a way to get so soon in your life.
And I remember my dad, he also took many home videos of me. I still have them. I love them. And I love to watch them together, like, seeing him and me together in one room, or seeing him and me looking at the mirror together, his camera on his shoulder. It's like these amazing, beautiful memories that I have now because he took all those videos. My mom gave them to me as a present. I'm like, oh my God, thank you. And in one of those videos, he took a video about happiness, which is in German Glück.
Glück.
Yeah. And he had the camera just in front of me, and he was asking me like, Reese, Theresa, what's your version of Glück? What's your definition of happiness? And back then, when I was maybe like 7 or something, I answered, yeah, a lot of fun with friends, sleepovers.
As you do as a girl.
Exactly. Yeah. And I was mumbling some stuff, and you couldn't even hear me because I was like, come on, Dad, just put the camera away. But anyways, this question was always kind of like in the back of my mind, like, what is happiness for you? And I think that's also what still drives me to this day, is like, answering that question in a really, really good way. And this is what led me to all these, new endeavors that came afterwards. And one thing that I would love to also share, because it helped me a lot with dealing with that grief, is, my mom saying that, that person that left, they're always going to stay with you. If you remember them, if you keep the memory alive. And I love that because, sometimes we tend to put stuff away, kind of like, I don't know, just put it in the back of our minds, or just put it away as far as possible. But over the years, I learned to work with it. And it's so, so powerful when you take those moments and, start to work with it, and sometimes remember that person in a good way, because then they're still with us. I think that was really, really helpful to work with it. And it's still a big loss, and it's never going to go away. But it's something that taught me at a young age to deal with stuff.
I can understand that. But tell me, Reese, have you changed your definition of happiness?
A lot.
A lot?
I changed it a lot. So listen, actually, I was growing up. So, thinking about what to do, figuring out who I wanted to be in this world. And while I did that, I was thinking, about a lot of options, but I wanted to live life to the fullest. And I think I wanted to become a strong, successful woman. That was kind of like the idea that I had in my mind, and, in Europe, the definition of success is having a successful career.
Yeah.
So I guess that's what I was aiming for.
Okay.
So yeah, I finished studies, did a training, and ended up becoming a sales leader, which I thought was the ultimate definition of success. Going to the office, working with a team, being in charge.
Yeah. And maybe long hours too? Or?
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
very long hours. I thought, it's normal to be in the office like first and then leave last. That was fine for me because, I've seen, many other people, successful people, and many of them did it that way. Society kind of tells you that, like friends are telling you, oh, wow, you have this leadership role. Like, how cool is that? I've worked my way up, I did a couple of years in startups and then, got the chance to do it. So I was so proud of it. And I was like thinking, wow, now I got it, but then, while I was working those hours, going to the office every day, commuting, and I was living in Berlin and commuting every morning, like half an hour to the office, being the first one there, preparing everything for everyone, then having team meetings, trying to like make sure that everything works. And then leaving late hours, the office, sometimes we still had, I don't know, some time in the office to talk about personal stuff. That's what you do in the, in a startup. You also have, your beers and pizzas sometimes after work.
Yeah.
It's intense. Like sometimes, you forget about time, and then I just ended up sometimes leaving the office at like 8 p.m. and coming to the office at 8 in the morning or even earlier. And honestly, that wasn't really what I was supposed to be doing because I realized that my energy just kept going down and down and down the more I did that job. And also, it was really, really challenging to have it all together 10 hours every day.
Yeah. Because that must have been, that was your life.
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing that maybe this idea of happiness started to somehow, it was starting to clash with, because you didn't feel that, did you?
Exactly. So what happened is I was, doing a good job. I was working. We were hitting our goals, but what I was neglecting was my own happiness, my own things of feeling good. Because I thought, I want to be successful, so I just need to put in the work. But what I totally forgot about is, what is Reese doing? How is she feeling? What does she actually need? And maybe somebody else who's listening to this can relate to it. It's like I was postponing my self-care and my happiness to the weekend.
Yeah.
And I think, many amazing women that I still talk to, that I work with, are sometimes doing that. They're like, during the week, they're like giving it all in their jobs. They're like, oh gosh, come on, Monday's arriving. I don't feel like it. I need to drag myself out of bed. And then Wednesday arrives, you're like, okay, halfway through. And then Friday arrives and you're like, oh my gosh, finally I have my life back. And then you live for 2 days. And then you go back to the same thing. And of course I enjoyed the work I was doing, but it was just way too much hours in the office. And it wasn't really what felt fulfilling to me. It didn't really like energize me the whole time. So I was thinking like, oh my gosh, I spent all these years now preparing myself for this job. Now I'm in this job and I don't enjoy it. What is wrong with me?
Yeah, and that's a classical thing, isn't it? What is wrong with me? It's not what's wrong with the system, the setup, the situation I am in, but it all comes back to you.
Yes. And I always thought, okay, something's wrong with me.
Yeah.
Like, why the hell am I not enjoying this? Like, come on, Reese, just keep it together. Just, suck it up and be the successful woman you've always wanted to be. But then another year passed, and like I said, I was working with an incredible team, and we also had some good moments, but I just realized that my energy just kept lowering and lowering over the year. I took some vacations in between, expensive vacations sometimes, because you had to the successful life. So you always wanted to also have a nice vacation to make up for it, right?
Yeah.
To make up for the stress. So it was kind of like a never-ending circle of going on, nice vacations, and then coming back and then feeling like, what the hell am I doing here? At some point, I got super depressed every time I had to take the flight back. My now husband, he was always like, "What is wrong with you? You seem so depressed." I'm like, "I don't want to fly back."
Yeah.
And it sounds kind of like a first world problem, but I was really, really down. I really, really didn't want to get on the plane and get back home because I knew exactly what was going to wait for me. But back then, I wasn't brave enough to take that step and change something.
And I think what you're saying here, because it is a first world problem, but it's also created by a first world lifestyle expectation programming, which is not healthy for anyone. So yeah, it may be a first world problem, but it's not. We're not made to live like that.
Yes, and I had to realize that the hard way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, many people need to realize that the hard way, because at some point it just gets too much. And for me, that point was when I had worked tirelessly and, started to feel a lot of anxiety. So I had sometimes these emotional outbursts of just being completely drained and almost just crying about the smallest things. I felt like my chest just closing in on me, trying to difficulty to breathe enough, in certain situations when I was in front of a new challenge. I felt very alone. I isolated myself, and during the weekends I started to want to do nothing because I was just so exhausted from all of this trying to survive mode and this fight or flight mode.
Yeah.
I was constantly in it. And it was really, really exhausting. So now I couldn't even enjoy the weekends anymore. And at some point, I remember this moment really specifically, had invested a lot of time and effort into strategy and, this, path that I was working on with the team as a team lead. And at some point we had some change in strategy, and we had a chat, my manager and I, about what to do now in this crisis mode. And we were talking about some people, also wanting to leave. And I remember the moment, so vividly when I said well, we can't just, lose those people. We just invested so much into creating the strategy and, developing them, training them, coaching them. Come on, let's do something. And he was like, well, worst case scenario, they're just going to leave, we'll get some new people. They're just numbers. And it was a moment I was it was going by in really, really short time. It was almost freezing me in that moment. I was what the hell just happened? What did I just hear? And it was a wake-up moment for me where I realized, okay, I don't have any control over what this company is doing. I don't have any control over what is going to happen to, a team or somebody else because it's not my own. And I'm also just a part of the game. And that was kind of shocking for me in that moment. But it was also the moment I started to internally let go of the idea that I belong here.
Yeah. Wow.
So
that was the combination of your anxiety and not, that you felt like you were not feeling well and didn't really start to question that, is this the right place for me to be?
yes.
And then you got was a clash with your values, obviously.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So my values were so hurt in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I do really care about individuals, and I really, really had created a connection with my team, which I still love to this day. The people that, the moments we shared and the progress we made, I couldn't just throw that away. And to hear that in a normal business, as I was part of it, it's just a normal process, was clashing so much with the person I wanted to be, that it just create this inner anger inside of me of like, no, I do not agree 1000%. I do not agree. And I am not going to tolerate this. I'm done. And it was a moment where I really, really internally quit.
Yeah.
I realized that I was also angry because I put in all this energy, right? Like,
Yeah.
I put in these hours, these extra hours. Nobody paid me for those. And I had just like done all this work to then, see everything, break into shambles. No, this is not me. And that's exactly what drew me then away from this life of having a successful career, when I realized that that's not me.
So great, thank you. I mean, and that's a healthy reaction to a very unhealthy situation and work situation. It's like, just fuck this. I'm not going to do this. This is not me.
No,
It's like, and that's when the anger is a healthy thing, because anger then actually makes you go into to a different mode to actually do something.
Yes, exactly. Yes, that was actually the driving propeller towards a new path that I wanted to take. And I had no idea what to do during that time, but I knew that I had to leave. And I was like, at first, completely overwhelmed with that emotion. I was like, okay, why am I angry? What is happening here? Like, Reese, what are you doing? But now looking back, it was one of the best moments that I could have. And I'm thankful for it now, that I got to experience that, because it led me to change something.
Yeah. And I think that's where what we, when you've listened to other people's stories, and that's where you come to a turning point. It's like, okay, this is hard, this is tough, but I'm not going to continue on this anyway. I have to change something. So then you can, like a bit afterwards, say, thank you for sending me this gift, for this experience.
It's so true. And I also tell that incredible woman that, I don't know, get fired or have a really difficult shift or crisis in life. It's like, it's going to teach you something, and just wait a bit. Like, the reward is going to come for you in some way. You don't know how yet, but it will come for you.
It will come,
Yeah, and everything that happened afterwards was like a break free, basically, of all the chains I had put on myself, of expectations and, beliefs and thoughts that I had about myself and who I should be and what should happen. But it was also super scary at the beginning.
Yeah, of course, because you lived, even though because I think that's what we talk about, and what you say with change, because we do put ourselves in some sort of prison. It's a mental prison. Obviously, society helps in the context we're in, but we do it ourselves.
Yeah.
But then actually starting to open up that, it's like when you've been like, I guess I haven't been in prison, but like when if you've been locked in for a long time, even though you get your freedom back, it's scary because you don't know how to navigate that. You don't know how to handle that.
Yeah, and a big thing I think here is, especially in change, is like this feeling of security.
Yeah.
And the security is something that I, at that point, had externally. So security for me was having a safe job, having an apartment, and, everything I needed to, live, a good life, have enough food, go on vacation. But now, at that turning point, I made the choice to quit my job, just handed in my notice. And then I had talked about this before, but I wanted to go on a world trip. That was like one of my biggest dreams in life, is going on a world trip and maybe even living somewhere else.
Yay.
And I had this at the back of my head now, looking back, of course, since a long time, because I've been always traveling to Spain, Greece since a really, really young age. And, also parts of my family are living in different countries. So I'm used to living somewhere else. I always used to go on vacation. I love it, always. But I wanted more. And now it was time to explore that more. But I remember this feeling when I handed in my notice. Oh my gosh, I felt like, do you know that feeling when you have like, you're sitting on a plane and you feel turbulence?
Yeah.
And you feel like you're like losing ground and you're just like sinking deeper, falling.
Yeah.
Like it was in my stomach, and I felt like I was going to just like I don't know, fall off the plane at least like, I don't know, at least a couple seconds. It was really, really deeply rooted, like for me to have a job
Yeah.
and to have that stable security, because I always learned about it. Like that's how you become safe, right? You have a job.
Yeah.
So like now not having a job and no job coming up. So I did have nothing planned. I just wanted to not work for at least 7 months. Was super scary.
Yeah, and that's such a brave thing to do, though. When your whole body, when your whole system is signaling something different, and you still can. So how did you do it? You just made up your mind and just.
So actually, my now husband, we were already together. I call him hubby Henny, and we were already together during the whole time in Berlin. And he said something really, really helpful during that time. I was like, I'm so scared. I'm giving up everything I just earned these last years. How should I like get another job? How should I like make this a success after quitting for 7 months? Who's gonna take me back? And he was like, actually, you still have everything that you learned in your head. You learned it. You did it. So nobody can take that away from you. And you can get any other job anytime you want because you've got you and your head.
Yay.
And I love that because it was so simple.
Yeah.
But it really, really helped me during that time to not freak out
Yeah.
about not having a job, not even a backup option. And now in hindsight, it was the best option because I didn't think about going back to a job. I had all the freedom I wanted. And that is actually one of the values that I now discovered is one of my biggest ones, is freedom. So
Freedom, yeah.
Here we go. Yeah.
Wow, well done. So that's when you changed to a different path, a different trajectory, really. Your life changed.
Yeah. So basically, hubby Henny and me, we quit our apartment. We put everything in storage, sold, most of our things, and then decided to just book a around the world ticket. Just a couple of stops planned in Asia, Australia, US, and then flying back, for at least 7 months.
Yeah.
And we basically went on that trip a couple weeks later.
Yeah.
It was, again, super scary because we just had our backpacks and nothing else. And we didn't have anything big planned. And I remember the first, days of landing in Bangkok and, having all this freedom. I was like completely overwhelmed. Like, what are we doing here? Like, where's my next job? What am I doing? I was trying to like, I don't know, document everything and, create videos and things. But I also, after a couple of weeks, we were in this beautiful island of Koh Tao and we, did a lot of dive trips. I realized that actually this, headspace, things started to come up for me. Like, thoughts that I haven't thought about before. Like, what do I really want? What do I enjoy? What is fun for me? I sometimes enjoy just doing one day of nothing.
Yeah.
And it was incredible. I started to learn to listen to myself during that trip a lot. And that's where I actually discovered where I feel the most comfortable, where I feel good. And I realized that I don't need a job to, enjoy connecting with others. I don't need a job to help others. And I also don't need a job to enjoy my surroundings and know what I want. So I realized, for example, that I just love being by the ocean.
Yeah.
And that it just naturally drew me every time we went to a location. I wanted to go there. So that was a check. So I realized, okay, I need that. And then also, for example, I was talking to others and I could just always ask the right questions naturally. So I learned about my natural gifts. And it just came so like easy to me. Like I didn't have to think about it. That was something I realized. And then I also saw so many people working remotely, like all over the world, having their own businesses. And I was like, well, it's actually possible. It's not just, a crazy image that I make up in my head. There's people doing it.
Yeah.
And that was so nice to see because now I got the evidence that it's possible. And it was super close for me. At some point, I was like, well, if they can do it, I can do it. So I think that trip was one of the best things that we could have done because it opened up all the possibilities for me that I didn't see before. It
That's
was
amazing.
suddenly like eye-opening, like you don't need to stay in a job, you can also create your own business. So yeah, that's what I did then. Like in Costa Rica, beautiful sunset. I was talking to hubby Henny, and thinking about that, I really want to help also other ambitious women creating their best life,
Yeah.
their best version of life. And I made that decision that night. I still have some pictures of that time because I was so excited about it, but also super scared. But again, I did it. And now here we are, 2 years later, the business is running and it worked. So that was really, really helpful to get that new perspective of what's possible and not holding myself too much back with what, like you said, like this cage of expectations was so important to lift finally.
Yeah. And I think that what I hear you say is that freedom, like actually stepping into your freedom and owning your freedom and also see the opportunities that led you to a new view of success.
Yeah.
So what is success for you today?
Success for me is living my purpose, being able to help other incredible people, feeling more fulfilled, doing what they're supposed to do, what their gifts are, instead of just doing what they should do. And if I do that, every single day or every second day, I'm feeling so energized and I feel so, incredible doing that it's not even work for me.
Yeah. And for you who can't see Reese in front of me, I can see that it brings you happiness, joy. So that's also one thing that one of the sayings that I like the most for me. I mean, happiness is the new success.
Yes. What's happiness to you? I would love to know, Jessica.
Yeah, but it's very much the same. It is to really listen to what gives me joy, to do what brings me joy. Freedom is one of my also, which is really interesting, one of my greatest values. To just create my life and just go with what feels right.
Yeah.
And just the knowingness that anything is possible and that I mean, it's possible to create anything. And as well, I mean, knowing that this life is a big playground.
Yes, and let's play. Come on. It's so funny because, some people might be looking back at their life, I don't know, 60, 80 years old, and they might be thinking like, heck, I should have done this 30 years ago, but they never did it. Do you want to be one of those people?
Yeah.
And if you don't want to be one of those people, go do something about it. And that's one thing that I learned is like you have life in your hands. You have the steering wheel, but it's your job to take it.
Yeah.
Like if you don't take it, somebody else is going to do it for you.
Yeah.
And they're not you, so it's probably going to be worse than you want it to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really, really important. And circling back to happiness, also I was asking many people on the world trip, like, because that, again, this question came up for me again and again, because of course also my dad asked me, about Glück, about happiness.
Glück, yeah.
And most people answered not, having their successful job, but actually being with my family, living in my favorite place, doing things that I love doing and enjoy, that make me feel joyful.
Yeah.
And, actually, a normal job where you just feel like you did your work and, just got it done was never really a big thing there. So, yeah, I think that really shifted the way of like, kind of, living to work versus, working to live.
Working to live, yeah. And also I think that's what you're saying is super important as well, because when we talk to people about, I mean, like we strive for money, more money, and it's not really the money that we're after, it is what we can, I mean, what that can help us to create, what the emotions we can get with the experiences that we can, like maybe if we can afford to travel, that we can create ourselves an experience, an emotion that helps us feel something. And I don't think that you need that much money really to do that.
Yes. And if you have, I don't know, 5,000 monthly, or if you have 10,000, there's not a huge difference. Like scientifically speaking, 10,000 is like the max, and then everything else is just going to be, a bit extra. But then at some point, you don't really realize a big difference in your quality of life, in your level of happiness and joy that you feel. So yes, I also learned that money is not everything, and I don't intend to just think about money in a sense of like, once I have this money, I will feel happier. But instead, what do I need?
Yeah.
And then just making this happen. Like, of course, it's scary as a solopreneur to make enough money every month. But also, again, here I'm holding the steering wheel. And if I have the possibility to change some lives and have a good transformation, yes, I am going to make money, but just also to have a rich experience for myself. So I think also shifting the perspective of money as a bad thing, and thinking of money as, hey, it's actually here to enable me to have a joyful life, and accepting that it's part of it. It's the currency, but you can do whatever you want with it. Yes, it's important to meet your needs, but it actually, and that's again coming back to safety, because many incredible people that I talk to have this tied together, like safety and money. If you have safety within, if you feel safe and secure as a person, and you know that you give value to someone, that you can find a job anywhere, money will automatically come to you. So I think it's really important to detach ourselves sometimes, like from this feeling of I need to have X amount of money every month to feel happy. It's about ourselves and where we start from.
Yeah, I think that's a super good takeaway for that as well. That if you always, like you said, provide value, then money will follow.
Exactly.
And there are always going to be people that wants to work with you, either as you're in your own business, or if you want to go back and get a job with all the knowledge and experience that you've accumulated.
It's all up here. You've got it already. So sometimes this feeling of not being good enough for a job, especially for women, I often see like, they just apply for a job if they meet all the criteria. If you have that internal knowledge that you can do it, it's going to reflect also on your life's trajectory. So self-trust is really, really important.
Absolutely. So if you want to give just the listeners just 3 pieces of advice to really step into your purpose and to actually steer the car yourself, what would you say would be from what you experienced?
So I think, first of all, I think it's important to stop listening to everybody else around you and start listening to what really feels good to you. You can do that, for example, by understanding your values. You can do that by, for example, I really enjoyed learning about human design. It was life-changing for me to understand my energy type, understand who I really am as a person, and why actually it wasn't the best idea for me to work 10 hours a day. Because, for example, I'm a manifestor, and it's not good for me to work on all the time. I'm much more efficient now in a different way of working. So that is something that is super, super important. Also understanding where your best environment, I think, is also something that's really helpful. Where do you feel thriving? Is it with a bunch of people around you? Is it outside in nature? Where do you thrive? So learning about where you feel your best self and do more of that. Because I think sometimes we tend to forget and sometimes, not really listen to ourselves because there's so much distraction. But coming back to yourself on those questions, values, environment, maybe even your personality type or human design, has been really, really helpful. Another thing that's super, super good to do is having a clear direction. So for my example, I had to do the choice of going away from this job because it didn't fulfill me because of my values. But maybe right now, some of you might be in a position where you don't feel really fulfilled or happy with your current job, or you feel like something's off. Listen to that voice. Don't submerge it, and try to understand where it's coming from. And if you start to listen to that voice, it will tell you the right thing because you already know your answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, you might feel like you always wanted to do this one thing. Go follow it and make the active choice to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's only then when you take your steering wheel. Otherwise, you're just gonna be distracted by, again, the noise. Some people asking you like, does it make sense? Is it going to be safe? Don't listen to them. It's their interpretation, their reflection of their own thoughts. And instead, go listen to somebody who did it.
Yeah.
I think that's really helpful. It's also helped me. I always thought I need to do everything by myself. But actually, it's the opposite. Like, talking to you, talking to amazing coaches that I met along the way, as well as a coach, especially as a coach myself. I need someone else to talk to have a safe space, to develop myself, because it's not possible on my own. How could I? How could I imagine doing everything by myself? That's pretty egoistic, right? Instead, let's just talk to the people who did the transformation and get the bits and pieces so you can have a faster transformation. I think that was really, really helpful for me as well. And a third thing is going to be rewiring your thoughts. And you've done it yourself as well with neurolinguistic programming, NLP. If you haven't heard about it, it's about rewiring your brain, your thoughts, your feelings to get a better outcome. And it's something I did since 2 years now. Learned about it in a training, just did a recent training. And it's incredible what you can do when you understand that you are not your thoughts. Right? So what happens basically is sometimes when you feel like, oh gosh, how could I ever change my job? Or when you feel like, oh my God, I'm so bad at this, you can actually detach yourself from that thought. Kind of like be the fly on the wall. Kind of observe yourself with that thought and then take a moment to see, okay, well, is it really true? Am I really that terrible? Maybe there's another example. Maybe like just 2 days ago, I did something really incredible. And then maybe find a new way of saying it. Maybe say, I am not motivated to go to that meeting. But this afternoon, I will treat myself to a nice coffee. So just take those thoughts and reframe them however you can. I also do that in my coaching, and it's super, super helpful to have these like small shifts of understanding that we are not our thoughts and that we can change them. So once I change them, guess what? Like, for example, I sometimes told my clients, I do a training today, and I always tell them like, you know what? Today is going to be an incredible training. And guess what?
It is. It will. It is.
And I even start writing that down the day before. Like, this is what is going to happen. I'm going to have an incredible podcast recording with Jessica. And we're going to have the best time. Guess what happens?
Voila. And that's thank you for sharing that, Reese, because I think that's exactly what we need. It is to change your life and change your thoughts and I mean, your behaviors and actions. It's not always so easy, but it's quite simple.
Yes.
It's not complicated. So, and it's great advice. Thank you for sharing that everything you can change your thoughts. And if you change your thoughts, you will change how you feel about your life. And your feelings will create, obviously, a different behavior. And then you start to change your life.
Yes. It's so simple and sometimes so difficult, but it's important to start somewhere. And just the idea of knowing that you can change them might already help some of you out there. And if you take a bit of courage and you take a bit of like self-control, that steering wheel, it's going to get you some incredible results for yourself, because, you know, we only have this one chance at life. Why don't we use it?
Thank you, Reese. And it's just so much good things that Reese shared today. But I think the main thing is that obviously change is scary, to step outside of your comfort zone and like break free from all those change. That is difficult. It takes some courage, and it might feel like you're actually doing a free fall, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And if you struggle a bit with your mindset and your thoughts, just try to reframe them, and you can change your thoughts. And when you start to change your thoughts, because your thoughts, they come from somewhere else. They may not even be your thoughts. They just, because it's a program that's run, isn't it?
Exactly.
So you can really start to change. Okay, I want to change that thought. I want to live a different life. And just start with that one thought. Like, today is going to be an amazing day. And thank you so much, Reese. And thank you so much for listening. And just look after yourself and make sure that you replace those thoughts that may be disempowering to a more empowering thought.
Yes, you got this.
Yes, you got this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun, an incredible podcast.
Thank you. I encourage you to subscribe to Resilient Voices and follow along on social media, where we'll be sharing updates, resources, and stories from our growing community of resilient women. And if you ever feel inspired or have a story to share, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can also use the hashtag Resilient Voices to connect with other listeners who are on their own journeys of transformation.